So, good afternoon, everybody. A warm welcome also from my side. Slovenko, thank you very much for inviting me for not the first time to give a presentation here in this beautiful city at this, for me personally, a high-level event here in Slovenia. And it's always a big pleasure to be here and to speak to you all. The presentation I've prepared for today is about also preparing the asphalt industry for the future. And it's about the everyday work of the European Asphalt Pavement Association in Brussels. And of course, it's not possible to talk about all the things we do during our working time, but I selected some hot topics for the asphalt industry in the next years. And you can see here is a real big list of topics, and it's only the hot topics and selected topics of that. And so I will only touch some of those, a little bit on the surface, but I will go deeper in some other topics. And I would like to start with that what happened yesterday in Strasbourg in the European Parliament, because the new European Commission of Ursula von der Leyen was approved. That happened yesterday. So this new commission will start its work on the 1st of December. 1st of December, so in a few days. And it's the outcome, so to say, of the European elections that we had in May this year. So for the next 5 years, we have a new parliament and we have a new European government, which will be the European Commission. And just a few days after Ursula von der Leyen was picked as the new head of the European Commission, she has prepared a document, her agenda for Europe. This is the blue document you can see here. And there are some nice challenges inside, not only for us as an industry, but also for us as European citizens, and also for other industries. And I have just picked out the most important that will definitely influence the work of asphalt associations and of the asphalt industry in the next 5 years. So, and maybe one have to say before that Ursula von der Leyen has to start with a very, very high level of ambition, of course, to at least get something done. But you will see what it is. Maybe some of you are not already aware what her plans are. So in the first 100 days of her work as a new commissioner, she will propose a new regulation on a European Green Deal. And this is more detail. Slovenko already mentioned it, that she not only has the ambition for 40% reduction of CO2 emission, no, it's up to 55%. She wants to have an emission trading system also for the construction sector. We didn't have this in the last years. She wants to have a new industrial strategy, and this comes along with a manifesto that 148 very, very big industries, including the European asphalt pavement industry, have launched yesterday to steer this process, to say to or tell the European Commission what they should do in the eyes of the industry itself to have a bright future in Europe. Circular economy is something that has always been high on the agenda of the European Commission in the last years, but there will be a new circular economy action plan from her. She wants to protect the citizens' health. And this is not only to degradation of nature, it's also pollution and air quality. And a zero pollution ambition is something that is very high on the agenda. So something that is also, when you listened to Marco before, something that is high on the agenda of our industry. Then you're all aware of the plastic topic. I will come to that later. No single use of plastics and the microplastics discussion. And digitalization is also a very high priority of the new Commission. So, and I think that's a really good approach because she wants to take care of the young generation, makes the young generation fit for the future challenges with education programs and so on. So one of the topics I want to go more in detail is the reduction of emissions. And so you see a list of emissions reduction possibilities here, or things that influence them somehow. We talked about fumes and aerosols in the presentation before. It's the health of the asphalt workers, our important working stuff. It's fine particles. Noise is also an emission, NOx, and of course the CO2 emissions reduction. And the asphalt industry is already taking all of these points very serious and is working on it. And I will show you in the next slide that already today 50% of CO2 emissions reduction during the production of asphalt is possible. So on the left side you have the production phase and some points which influence the CO2 emissions during the production phase, and we have also the use phase. And when you look at the first point, which says if you have reuse of asphalt, if you have dry aggregates, if you have used biomass fuels, you can come to this minus 38%, even more. And the chart tells you in simple words in which stage of the production, if it's the raw materials, if it's the transport to the asphalt mixing plant, or if it's the production of the material itself inside the asphalt mixing plant, where the reduction can occur, and that could lead easily to almost 40%. And if you then consider that we have aggregates that are maybe produced with electric machinery, if a bitumen with a lower CO2 emission impact will be on the market because of transport and production, if the transport distances of the asphalt material to the job site are optimized, and we have new technologies like warm mix asphalt or low temperature asphalts, then you can easily understand that 50% even today with technologies on the table is available. So we are quite fine in our industry because we already are prepared, we have solutions. And when it comes to the use phase, then we also have solutions. I will come to this a little bit later. Coming back to low temperature asphalt, Marco already mentioned it, that it is a material that was created or invented in Germany and in Norway many, many years ago. And if you look at the charts, then you see the market shares. If you see the market share in Europe compared to the US has a market share of almost 40% this year. The latest figures show 40% low temperature asphalt. They call it the warm mix asphalt. I gave a presentation 4 years ago here at the same place on the background of warm mix asphalt, how you produce it, what the benefits are. I don't want to go in detail today, but at least there are much more advantages related to that. It's not only the reduction during the production because of less energy needed. A rule of thumb is 10 to 15%. There's also other benefits, and Marco mentioned it before. You have the health of the asphalt workers. Every degree that you reduce the temperature during production helps to reduce fumes and aerosols. So it's good for our workers. And there are some more technical benefits with it. And if you look at the more detailed view on the European production of warm mix asphalt, if you look at all over Europe, you have no figure. You have less than 1% of the total asphalt production is warm mix asphalt or reduced temperature asphalt in Europe. But if you look at some countries, you see, wow, in some countries we have already 15%, in France and in Scandinavia. And why is this the case? Because these countries already started many years ago to take care of their workers. It was not because of CO2 emissions reductions. It was only reduce fumes and aerosols to have a better working environment and a safer working environment for their workers. During the use phase, there's also possibilities for our industry to influence the CO2 emissions reduction. If we build longer-lasting roads, the Americans speak about perpetual roads, then we can extend the lifetime of a pavement. It does not have to be rehabilitated or replaced that early maybe or earlier, and then we can reduce CO2 emissions, of course. And a very easy way to do this, and this brochure, this green brochure, was already been on the screen in Slovenko's speech before, with smooth and tailor-made surfaces, which the asphalt industry can already provide today. No problem, well-maintained roads help. Then we can reduce the fuel consumption of the drivers on these roads by at least 5%. And many studies show this, and all this information is put together in this green document that we produced 2 or 3 years ago in Brussels together with the European research laboratories and the colleagues from the concrete side. So we all together lobbied in Brussels for more maintenance, for smooth and even pavements, which help reduce fuel reduction, the fuel consumption in this case, for every one of you driving on European roads. When we come to sustainability and the new circular economy approach, then we have to also talk about what do we put in asphalt. And many discussions are around the world. I've been to the US at the beginning of this year. The new Congress that has been elected, the Democrats are there again, the powerful party. They take care of environment, and they said, we should do something for environment. And they had this crazy idea that plastics and roads would definitely help. It's something that comes from the UK. And even in Australia, I have met colleagues from Australia. There's a big topic on using all kinds of materials in asphalt pavements, on asphalt material. And I was at the Congress of the Czech Republic beginning of this week in Bad Weiss, and there was an Australian researcher speaking about the use of plastic, different kind of plastics in asphalt roads. So EAPA does not say, or the European asphalt industry says, the pavement industry does not say yes or no. But there have to be clear rules if you want to put it inside. And we have prepared many years ago, so this is not an answer to plastics discussion, it's an answer to discussions in general. What do we put in asphalt? We have prepared this document here. It's a position statement on what should be used, what byproducts and what kind of waste products of other industries should be used in asphalt. And we as an industry, we know that there are huge possibilities with additional materials inside asphalt, but we also know limitations and problems. And we always have to remember that it's asphalt and not trashfalt. It's a black material. We have it since many, many years. It's still black, but it's not the same material as it was 20 or 30 years ago. It's a highly engineered product. Normally, it's a highly engineered product, and we can be proud of this, and we should be very careful what we put inside. So the first priority for the European Asphalt Pavement Association is that every ton of asphalt that has been placed in a road should be removed and should become a new road again. So asphalt goes back into asphalt. And if we talk about other materials from other industries, then we should have a clear idea when to put it in and when not. So we should have a risk assessment, and this process is described in this brochure, because we should be always aware that environment, reusability, recyclability, the end of service life, technical performance, and so on should never be harmed with any material we put additionally in asphalt. And we should have a clear terminology. So reuse and recycling are totally different things. Reuse is if you put an asphalt back into asphalt, and not if you use asphalt as a black rock for something else, or put it even to landfill. So this is here described. And it comes all from the waste prevention, and there is a hierarchy, a waste hierarchy. Many countries do have this, and this is the one from the European Commission. So first of all, we have to prevent to have any waste. And if we can't do that, then we should repair the material somehow. If we talk about roads, a long-lasting road would be the best. If it's not, if it's somehow deteriorated, then we simply repair it. We do a maintenance on that. And if this is not possible, and we have to replace the material, then we should at least reuse asphalt as asphalt again. And if this is not the case, then we should use it in recyclings as in lower level applications. And this is the reason why the wording is here. Recycling is not good enough. We can reuse every ton of asphalt that we reclaim from a road. So another hot topic, it's the digitalization, Asphalt 4.0. So in the recent decades, also for our industry, the digitalization has become an enormous impact. And we have this machine-to-machine communication, we have robotics, we have building information modeling, pavement information modeling, we have big data, artificial intelligence, you all heard of that, and that will not stop in front of the doors of the asphalt industry and not in front of the door of the construction industry, even if we are I think we are the less developed digital industry about this digitalization. The banks, the banking sector and all these other sectors are much more developed in digitalization than the construction industry is. And you can all look at yourself and all your jobs you do, how digital you are, and there's a lot to do in the future. And that's the reason why we have taken up this topic as Asphalt 4.0. And we have created a committee, a new committee inside the EAPA, which will deal with the future of the road, the future of the asphalt industry, digitalization, the transition to become more modern industry. And we also picked this up for the Congress. You have seen this slide before, and Marcus already invited you from Eurobitum side. And as Eurobitum and EAPA are the organizers of this together, I also want to warmly welcome you and invite you to come to Madrid next year to this Congress. And the heading of the Congress is Asphalt 4.0 for Future Mobility. So there's Asphalt 4.0, we will talk about this, the transition in the industry, and we will talk also about the future of mobility. What is the changes? How does this influence how we build roads, how we build asphalt roads, how do we design asphalt in the future? And coming back to what happens in Europe, so today I have received the information that the European Parliament has decided with a large majority that we have a climate crisis in Europe. This has, at first sight, no consequences. But the European Parliament today announced we have a climate crisis in Europe. And the large majority has voted on that. So I think this is a really strong change of paradigm in Brussels now. We have the Commission, which is taking it really for serious. We have the Parliament, who is pushing the Commission to do something, and the Parliament will control the European Commission if they really are successful or not. And we were prepared. We have next week an event, a parliamentary breakfast debate, hosted by an MEP, you can see it here, and co-hosted by EAPA, by us. And we will talk to parliamentarians, and we'll talk to representatives of the European Commission. In this breakfast debate, we will be 30 people, and of course, the high-level representatives of the European Asphalt Pavement Association, with the president, the vice president, the chairs of all the committees. We will be there, and we will talk about this. And what will we tell them? We will tell them exactly the points I mentioned before, what are the hot topics. And this is all coming out of this document from the new head of Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. She wants to talk about reducing CO2 emissions. We have low temperature asphalt. We have biobinders. We reduce CO2 emissions in every sector. I showed it before. Fuel consumption of cars on the road surfaces. We can do something. We can provide tailor-made solutions with low rolling resistance asphalt surfaces, for example. And we preserve Europe's natural environment because we are one of the industries that can really, really reuse all of its material, and we are in a very good way. And I showed you the picture, 68% of all asphalt at the moment are in Europe reused in asphalt again. This is really good. That has to be proven by other industries. And to put some more pressure on this, we have created a manifesto which will be launched next week, one day before the Parliament debate. So we have 2 pages with all these hot topics, and we have the decarbonization of road transport, which is one high topic with the CO2 things, and we have the sustainable construction and maintenance of roads. Also, we talk about political boundaries, what we ask the politicians to do better for us, that we can even improve that, what we want to do, what we already provide from our industries. So this will be handed over to the parliamentarians. We will put it in their letterboxes. We will put it to the Commission in the next weeks, next months, and the next years. So I come to the resume. A lot of hot topics. I touched only some of those. You can read them again. We were not surprised about these topics that come from the Commission and the Parliament. Now we are prepared. We already did something. We will continue to do this. And if you want to get more information, you find a lot on the EAPA website. The latest brochures and all these documents I mentioned are also on our newly created website. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Karcher. You'll definitely have a very interesting breakfast soon. So.